Hey everybody, welcome to our Zoom meeting this morning. My name's Maureen Garner, and I am so excited to have my dear friend and guest, Maureen Hayes, be with us today. Let me just tell you a little bit about Maureen, and then hopefully she'll tell you a little bit more, a lot more. But this is just a little bit about Maureen. Dr. Maureen Hayes has been a medical doctor for more than 25 years. She is double board certified by the American Board of Anesthesiology in general anesthesiology and in pain management. She is also credentialed in age management medicine and is certified in acupuncture. Dr. Hayes has served as chief of the Department of Anesthesiology at Marlborough Hospital in Marlborough, Massachusetts, and served as assistant professor in the Department of Anesthesiology at the University of Texas. And I just want to welcome everybody here. Thank you for being here with us, and welcome Dr. Maureen Hayes. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Hey, thanks, Lori. It's such an honor to be here, and it's so great to meet everybody, and thank you for such a great introduction. What's really interesting is actually it's going to be my, on May 19th, it's my 30-year anniversary of graduating medical school. Of course, I was 7 years old, you know. Yeah, I cannot believe it. But, you know, it's interesting because people all the time say, wow, you know, you've had such a long education, a long career, and now you're doing this? And I'm like, yes, I am, because I think this is the opportunity for me to be the best possible physician that I can be, because I'm teaching people how to have their own way, empowering them to be healthy. And so that really, helps my heart. One of the things when I was practicing, especially as a pain doctor, is that a lot of people could not afford to be healthy. And I know that sounds like a crazy statement to make in our country, but either they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the insurance, they didn't have the money to eat well or to exercise. And so to be involved with something like this that allows people not only to have a healthier lifestyle, but also to be able to earn income if they're interested and be able to afford a healthier lifestyle is just incredible, especially with it being totally non-toxic. After 20-something years of writing prescriptions, I feel like I'm doing penance here, because every prescription came with a laundry list of warnings and side effects. And here we have something so powerful that anybody can take, and it won't hurt them, and it may be an answer to prayer. So very much love where I am, very much love what I'm doing, and love sharing it. And so I'm so happy to be on this call this morning, talking to all of you and sharing my journey, because it's really pretty unexpected. When this was brought to my attention 6.5 years ago, I just happened to be having a conversation with a close friend of mine, Terry Latham, who had left another company that I had used their products. I had an integrative pain clinic. And so along with using medications and procedures to help my patients, I was looking for things that would help them be healthier, which is how I ended up getting certified in acupuncture, learned about energy medicine and mind-body. And I used products from a company that were energy products, magnetics, infrared, things like that. And people got wonderful results. Now, I was still a doctor. I was still practicing. This was not a career for me. I made a little bit of money, probably not more than I spent, though. But it was sort of a labor of love. I wanted people to have access to this stuff. So when I heard Terry Latham had left that company where he had been highly successful, I was curious. I said, why would you do that? I know, you were making a lot of money there. And he and his wife had been consultants of the year back in 2008. And he said to me, I came across something that seems to be a breakthrough in health. And I said, what? And he said, it's called Redox Signaling Molecules. Have you ever heard of it? And I was like, nope, I've never heard of that. It doesn't mean, and so here I am. This is a computer guy teaching me about redox signaling. And so I said, well, I'll look into it. What Terry didn't know is that my husband, who is also a physician, he's a pediatric anesthesiologist and stem cell researcher. In fact, his lab has just gotten a lot of notoriety because they grew lungs outside the body and transplanted them into pigs. And so their study has just been released in Science Translational Medicine, which is a big deal. They got the cover of the journal, so it's huge. But he had gone through a life-threatening event. He was in the military. He's a retired now, but a colonel in the Army Reserves, was out in Iraq running 8-10 miles and wheezing. And one of the docs talked him into getting a chest x-ray. And he was like, that seemed crazy to him. He was running through a sandstorm. But thank God he did, because he had a huge mass in his chest. So long story short, he comes back. We live in Texas, not far from MD Anderson, if you're familiar with that hospital. And he had medications to take care of it, surgery and radiation. They cured him from the disease, and we were very thankful, very blessed. But like I said, he was a previous marathon runner, still running 8-10 miles a day. And after all of his therapies, he had to wear oxygen to watch TV. Even just walking across the room or trying to open up the refrigerator was like a huge effort for him. It was like a workout. And here he was in his late 50s, and we were like, wow, our lives as we knew them are kind of over. This was a real monkey wrench in the works, if you will. So here Terry is educating me about redox signaling. I'm curious because I've never heard of it. I call my sister, I don't know if you guys have heard this story before, but I call my sister, who's a medical writer and editor at my medical school at the Medical University of South Carolina, where the one I graduated from 30 years ago. And I said to her, Terry Latham just told me about this stuff. It's called Redox Signaling Molecules. It's made from salt and water. I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it. And she said, well, I've heard of it. I was like, no, you haven't. You're not a doctor. You're not a scientist. And she said, we just got a $10.5 million NIH COBRA grant to study redox signaling in all sorts of disease entities, cardiovascular, neurogenic, aging, obesity, diabetes, you name it, a whole host of things. And she sent me the press release. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, most doctors are a little egotistical. Here is the computer guy who knows about redox signaling, and here is the medical writer who knows about redox signaling, and here's the doctor who knows nothing. So, of course, I have to jump in. And the science was very compelling. That, and what I happened to look at first, because we didn't have a lot of stuff back then, was the Dr. David Neiman studies out of Appalachian State, the human performance lab there, that was all done on athletes. So I'm looking at it, and they're increasing VO2 max, ventilatory threshold. Now, I am back in training because I want to be an age management doc, a concierge doc, where I'm just working with people who want to have optimal health. It's very expensive. It's very targeted. So I have spent a lot of money and a lot of time getting educated in this. And I'm at one of the conferences, and I have watched these videos, and I'm listening to one of my teachers who is talking about the very same thing about mitochondria in the cell and energy production, VO2 max. And I was like, wow. I went up to him after the talk and the lecture, and I said, have you ever heard of redox signaling molecules? And he said, pool water? And I was like, yeah, see ya? And he was like, yes, I take it every day, and I recommend it to all my patients. I was like, my husband and I had been on the product for about 6 months. And I ran to the hotel room to call him, and I said, this stuff might just be legit. I'm not sure. Other people are using it. So what's funny is, we had some amazing responses, but I still couldn't wrap my head around it. It took literally 6 months for me to decide to share this. Hey, a couple of you, forgive me for pointing this out, but a couple of you are not muted. If you don't mind muting, because I know Lorianne is recording this. So anyway, it was about that time, it was about 6 months into using the product that I decided that people needed to know about this. I had just finished and gotten certified in age management medicine, but instead of hanging a shingle and building a $1 million practice that would have cost people $15,000 a year to be a part of, not including their bioidentical hormones and their supplements, I thought, I've been exposed to this for a reason. We've had life-changing benefits. My husband has been able to come off all of his oxygen because of these products. And I said, I have a moral obligation as a physician to let people know about this. I'm going to make it my mission to educate people about redox signaling molecules. What they do with that information is up to them. You can lead a horse to water, you cannot make them drink. And so that's what I started doing about 6 years ago, actually right at this time. It was right between April and May that I made that decision. So pretty interesting timing. So for 6 years, I've done that. I ask people permission to learn about it. I tell them why I thought of them. And over those 6 years, I have touched the lives of thousands of people and have gone up the ranks in this company, and now I'm a double diamond, which is absolutely amazing and astonishing to me, because that was not my intent when I got in. But once I made it my mission just to get the word out, things happened pretty quickly.
Congratulations, my friend. That is so incredible. So tell us, I love how you explained everything just right from the very beginning, because so many people think that it's difficult to talk to people about it, but all the research has been done. Everything's been done. Like you said, we just present it to people, let them choose. And you touched on some pretty powerful studies that were done. What can you tell us a little bit about the study that was done with the LDL 50?
Oh, yeah, that was also one of Dr. Neiman's studies, and it had been done earlier, and they just kind of started talking about it a few years ago, because it kind of dances on the line between making some medical claims, if you will. So, the company had to get to a certain level before they could allow those statements to be made. And, of course, they haven't let the study results out, because, you have to look at this. We're trying to help people, but we're also marketers, those of us who are in the business. And so you give people, the actual study, and they walk around with the study in their hands. And most people don't want to know that. They want to know what the benefits are. This study showed that taking ASEA decreased oxidized LDL, which is the bad actor, and oxidized DNA. So these are markers for two of the major things that kill people, at least in the United States, and probably in a lot of the other westernized worlds. So that is very, very powerful. Now, it's interesting because I did not have any response to the product that I knew of for 6 weeks taking it. I didn't feel any different. I was very unimpressed, quite honestly. But I had shared it with a couple of people who had amazing overnight responses. And I was like, what's going on there? What is happening? And my husband and I, of course, he's a researcher. We're both scientists at heart. We're like, okay, what is going on? Why do some people have different results? Why do some people take longer? Now, the one thing that did change is I had gone just for, my regular physical, and my doctor was having, I'm fluffy, I'm healthy, but I'm fluffy. And he said, your total cholesterol is a little high. It was like 206. No big deal. Everything else was pretty good. But he said, we're going to take another baseline today, because that one was a few months old. And he said, and if it's still elevated, we're going to have the talk, right? The lifestyle talk, exercise, diet, all of that jazz. I was like, fine. So he calls me back a couple days later, and he said, hey, did you start yourself on statins? And I was like, I wouldn't do that. I'm not a huge fan of medication. I like to heal, and some medication is needed. So don't take that as I'm telling you to throw stuff out. Some medication, but for me, I've always been able to kind of, the things that have plagued me, kind of get them under control myself. So statins are not something I was interested in taking. So my total cholesterol had dropped from 206 to 176 or 178, something like that, without any intervention on my part. And so he was curious as to how I had done that. And I was like, I have no idea. I did not know that happens to a lot of people on ASEA. Since then, of course, we had the study that talked about the decrease in oxidized LDL. I also had a jump in the good cholesterol, my HDL, which usually you have to clean up your diet and do exercise in order to see those changes. So it was pretty cool. I was pretty excited about that. Just to expand upon that, I was at a medical conference just recently where they were measuring the carotid arteries in the neck. You've heard of people having, you can have strokes from them. A lot of people get carotid artery endarterectomies to clean this out because they can become very filled with plaque and sort of. And so many people, I had a booth at this medical conference, and people were coming up and saying, oh my God, I just have my carotids measured. I have the carotids of an 80-year-old, a 90-year-old. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I decided I'm going to go have mine measured, right? Because this is kind of a test to look for atherosclerosis in the body. So I was walking over there, and I thought, well, I'm heavy, and it's $50, and I'm not sure I want to spend $50 to get bad news. But I thought, oh, okay, let me just see where I am. And the woman, you can't see it. They're doing almost like an ultrasound on your carotid. So I'm away from the monitor, and she's like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, what? And she's like, your carotids are beautiful. Now, you guys, I'm 59 years old. You know, you would think I would have some junk in there. She said they are wide open. The intimal thickening is my walls are very thin, and the flow is awesome. This one on the right is a year younger than my stated age, and this one on the left is 14 years younger than my stated age. So she was like, you know, sometimes there's a discrepancy between the two. It's pretty normal. But she said, you have some of the best looking arteries in this whole group. And these are medical professionals, you guys, in this group. So I was like, wow, pretty amazing. You know, when they talk about the Torrent Lab study, which is the one that was done a year and a half ago, and that one is just groundbreaking. You know, I hope that they get that published. I hope they do more studies based on that, because it's just amazing, the information that came out of that. And one of the things is that ASEA helps with our cardiovascular health and with arterial elasticity, which is, you know, what we're talking about here, keeping those arteries soft and pliable and good flow through them. So, and, you know, just to talk a little bit about that study, there were 5 areas that were impacted: inflammation, immune status. If you saw the corporate webinar last week, Dr. Foster Malmed and I talked about those 2 things, the immune status and inflammation in the body, huge things. Also cardiovascular health, as I said, GI health, and hormone modulation. People may not know what that is, but just like when I was going to be a concierge doctor for age management, it had to do really with getting people's hormones under control. We have a lot of hormone disruptors in the environment right now. So we're seeing changes, and we're seeing changes before they're age appropriate, if you will. So getting people's hormones, especially insulin, under control is a huge thing. There's more type 2 diabetics now than ever before. It's almost an epidemic. So when you look at these studies and you look at the results from them and what they're impacting, it's insulin signaling, it's thyroid signaling, it's your circadian rhythm, it's serotonin. So, you know, these are major things. Plus, if you dive deep into some of those pathways, and just to go back a little bit, these are gene pathways that are being upregulated, and they're beneficial genes. And if you're familiar with the science of epigenetics, that is the explanation as to why our DNA is impacted by our lifestyle. You know, everybody knows that you have the same DNA now that you had that you were born with. But, you know, your body doesn't look the same. You don't have the same body that you had when you were 20 or 10 or even an infant. Things change over time. Different parts of your DNA are activated or inactivated. There's a lot of things in our environment with our lifestyle that are activating what's called killer genes. And the whole idea behind it is that your DNA wants to survive. It survives through your offsprings. Once you have children, your DNA is propagated to the next generation. And if you are not, I don't know if you guys are fans of Stephen Gundry, but he, in his theories, he talks about, he's a cardiologist who teaches people lifestyle. But he says, if you're not a contributing member of society, then your genes, your killer genes, are going to be turned on, and your longevity genes are going to be turned off. And how do your DNA or your cells know that you're not a contributing member? You're sitting, you're sedentary, you're not moving, you know, you're consuming too many calories for, you know, your expenditure. Also, extreme athletes kind of fall into this group. So, you know, we're fighting our own bodies on this. You know, if you believe that, and it kind of makes sense, you know, we're fighting our own DNA to stay alive. So, ASEA is almost like a biohack, right? Because if you look at some of Dr. Neiman's studies, you look at these gene studies, we're turning on good gene studies. We're making our bodies act like we've done more exercise or been more active than we actually have. And people who are taking ASEA and active get double benefits. So it's pretty interesting. If you're into that science, you know, look into it, because it really is fascinating. If you just want to know what the benefits are, the benefits from taking these products is that you are going to feel younger, you're going to look younger, you're going to act younger, you're going to live longer. And if you do the business and you share this with people, you're going to live better too. So, you know, those are all the upsides.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you touched on the Tarot studies, because that's key. How cool. I want to go get mine. I want to go get mine tested now to see,
Yeah.
how,
Yes.
yeah, because I had a test done years ago and there was some blockage in there. And I was like, I'm so young. I'm an athlete. I'm like, but it happens in there. So anyway, I'd be interested to go see the changes that I've made, but I know that it helps so much with that. So I'm wondering if you could just touch really quick with the vitamins and how the vitamins have added just that extra punch.
Oh, you know what? I have to be honest. I'm a supplement snob. And so when they came out with these supplements, I was like, okay, these are for the gummy bear people, the Fred Flintstone people who are getting their supplements at Walmart or Walgreens or wherever. And I really didn't expect wowed by them. And I am. In fact, the more I look into them, the more excited I am about these products. I've been taking all of them since they came out and freaking love them. Number one, the source gives me so much energy. I like to take mine all at once. You can break them up if you want. They're whole foods. But these foods, there's superfoods in there that are incredibly energizing to your body and cleansing for your body. It has certain things in there that are going to help, any kind of time you have super greens, they're going to help with, I probably shouldn't get into all of this, but help with the liver function and stuff like that. Plus there's enzymes in there. There's so many people suffering from enzyme problems. These enzymes allow us to assimilate these vitamins better, all of the nutrients that are coming from source, and to be able to utilize it. And, I don't know if any of you have taken vitamins in the past. I take a lot of supplements, and quite honestly, you'll see it change the color of your urine. And people always laugh and say, oh, if you take vitamins, you just have expensive colored urine. Well, I have noticed that it does not change. These products do not change the color of my urine. And I'm like, well, that's because they're being used. It's not what you eat, it's what you absorb, right? So fabulous, fabulous product. Everybody should be on source. It's a whole food. You're getting everything you need in those nutrients. They're fermented, so they're already partially digested for you. Very easy to take. And Biome, I think Biome has been the real hit for everybody. It's very easy. It's a low colony count. It's still got tons of colonies in there, but not as many as a lot of probiotics that just blow up your stomach. So, people won't take them because they don't want to deal with the gas and the bloating and the gastric distress. Even, the big rage is fermented foods, but people are like, oh, I'm not going to go around eating sauerkraut and kimchi every day because it's going to hurt my stomach or my GI system. So this is something that you can take. People are more regular. They're having easier bowel movements, just more regular. I've never had a problem there, but even I have noticed a benefit to it. Plus there's food in there for your bacteria. And if you look at some of the recent studies and some of the information that's coming out on our microbiomes, they are, number one, 70% of our immune system comes from our gut. Did you know that? It's one of our first lines of defense. They also are very instrumental in our mental health and in our thoughts and what's going on in our body. So you want the good guys in your gut. It makes sense to take care of your gut. And this is a very easy, inexpensive way to do it. The third product I am absolutely in love with, and that's LifeMax. LifeMax actually augments everything else that we're doing. I just got back from a medical conference 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. And one of the big talks was on medicinal mushrooms. We have 5 of them in LifeMax. And I had bought $200 worth of mushrooms, actually harvested mushrooms to make teas with, because of all of the benefits, especially in malignancies and all. And I have a brother who's going through a big challenge right now. We have him on tons of ASEA, and he's doing amazingly well, but I believe in doing everything else. So he's on all of our nutritional products too. But I was really interested in reading about these mushrooms that I had spent about $200 on, and all of them plus more are in the LifeMax product. And I was like, wow, we don't even know what we have our hands on here. This is just fabulous. So really, really well thought out, elegant products that are extremely useful and beneficial and augment what Redox is already doing. I've always said to get the most out of your redox molecules, you have to be doing other things that are good for your body. You have to be sleeping well, drinking good water, exercising, and getting good nutrition. And so ASEA is making steps to provide us with those things, and I'm really glad about it. You know, if you're just sitting on the sofa with a Big Mac in one hand and a clicker in the other, the molecules are working hard just to keep you alive. The more good you can do, the better your results are going to be. So if you're not on them, get on them. I teach, if you're a business builder on here, maybe some of you are just, product users, but if you're a business builder on here, your auto ship should have the Redox molecules, at least 1 tube of Renew, and all of the ASEA Via products. You need to invest in yourself to invest in your business, right? You need to be a product of the product. So yeah, is that a little bit of a financial investment? It's going to cost you about $320, $350 a month. But you know what? Your health is everything. And if you aren't out there looking healthy and vibrant, nobody's going to want to follow you. So you have an obligation and a duty to yourself, to your family, to the people that you love, to be the best you possible and to convey that to the people that you're trying to share the message with. So I hope that helps. And yes, I'm speaking to the choir.
Thank you. That is, it's so important. And like you said, you can do the ASEA and then start with getting healthy. And I love how you talk about the clicker and the Big Mac. That's important. That's important for us to get our bodies moving and to really be our best selves, because this is the only body we have. I talk about that all the time. It is the only body we have.
Yeah. We invest more in our cars, don't we? And you can trade a car in every 3 years, or if you're like me, I drive until they die, but I still don't expect, at the most, I think I've gotten 20 years out of a car, right? I'm going on 60 years on this body. You got to take care of them, because I'd like to get another 60 out, but I'd be happy with 30, 40, so yeah, you got to invest in yourself. So.
Maureen, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We appreciate your expertise, and you are one of the most lovely, intelligent people that I know. And I've just been so honored. Maureen and I got to go on a humanitarian trip together, and I got to meet her son. And she just is one of the most intelligent, beautiful, loving, kind, caring people. And she talks a little bit about that Dr. Ego, but I've not seen that with her ever. She's so loving and incredible. So thank you for sharing your expertise, taking some time this morning to be with us, and all of the people that will watch this video at another time. I hope that they really can feel the difference that this made in your life, and how you were able to impact so many people with this. And that, we don't have to be a doctor to impact people with this. But it's so grateful to know that you, with your expertise, your doctor knowledge, with all of the training and everywhere that you're going and sharing this, that we can do exactly what you're doing. And we're just so thankful for you for sharing it with us.
Hey, it's been my pleasure, my honor. I just adore you, Lorianne, and I'm so happy to speak to your group. You guys have a fantastic leader in Lorianne. She's just such a humanitarian, such a wonderful person to know, and I've cherished our friendship. So goodbye, everybody. It's been great spending this time with you, and thanks again, Lorianne, for inviting me on.
Thanks, everybody.